Welcome to Sighted to Sightless, Side-Eye Edition, where your hosts Richard and T will be conducting interviews with other blind or visually impaired individuals discussing their journeys as a person in the sighted world. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sighted and Sightless Side-Eye Edition. A side series, kind of like a side dish, whenever you eat, and Sighted to Sightless is so good, we figured you wanted some extra. And I'm Richard, and with me is T. We'll get to him in just a moment. We are going to be talking to other blind or visually impaired individuals and giving you the perspective of them and how they are the same as everybody else, except they can't see. We're going to be discussing very similar questions to everybody and just showcasing that we all have different opinions and different ways of doing things. And like I said, with me is T. He's going to be hosting this with me because he has so much experience in podcasts. He taught Joe Rogan every single thing that he knows. T, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into your whole story.
Thanks, Bubba. Thanks for having me on. I'm T. I am the co-host and co-founder of Seesaw Podcast, a show about disability, and balancing out the good, the bad, the ugly, that sort of thing. We ran for around 4 years. We're currently on a bit of a hiatus at the moment, just because of various things with all the hosts. We're all doing other little projects at the moment. But over, I think, including the sub series we did, 250 odd episodes over 4 years. It went on a while. It went on a long time. But
Like I said,
it's
you
a lot of
taught
fun.
Joe Rogan everything he knows. So
I wish. I think the only thing I have in common with Joe Rogan is we both shave our head, and that's about it.
I got you. But T and I have known each other, what, T, about 2.5 years, something like that. It's,
Has to be about it. It's maybe getting on to 3 years. Like
yeah,
I think. I mean, I'd have to look at the episode lists, but we had you on for Knights of the Braille, um, and we were chatting a few weeks before that, so I'm sure we could find the date.
yeah.
But I'd say yeah, 2.5, 3 years.
I'm not sure that I really want to know the date because that would mean I was younger then, and I hate doing stuff like that because I'm getting older. But you know how that is.
Oh,
But I didn't know you shaved your head too,
I
because that's what I do because I was getting a five head.
yeah, I have terrible genetics. On my dad's side, just that you go bald by the age of sort of 23, 24. And on my mum's side, all the men in her family, they went grey in their 20s as well. So what hair I had remaining is just grey. It's just silver and it just doesn't look good. So I just thought, I'm just going to take a blade to it every other day, just have a smooth head, and wear a lot of hats.
Oh yeah, because you are a hat collector.
I wouldn't say collector. I have a fair few. I have a fair few. I need to get some more. I need to get some in the rotation, I think.
Wear a different one every day of the month. You get some
Cowboys.
Mickey Mouse going on. You got to get your Georgia Bulldogs hat. So you
Oh yeah, yeah.
present.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have a look.
But T and I have been T. I don't know how you feel, but I'd say that we pretty much clicked immediately. It may have been a week or so, but I mean, then we realized like, hey, gum, we got so much stuff in common. Our love of cooking, our love of games and reading and things like that. So I would say that we clicked immediately, and you're welcome to hurt my feelings if you want to by saying no, I can't stand you. But you wouldn't be the first one to say that anyway.
No, man, no, I agree. I think especially within sort of like the visually impaired and blind community, I think it's going to sound harsh to say, but it, for context, just listen to any of the Seesaw podcast to just know how our feelings on the visual impaired and blind community. Like, there's a lot of amazing people, but at the same time, there's a lot of institutionalized sort of negativity, a lot of can't do attitudes that go around, and you meet people, and unfortunately, you just feel it's just exhausting. We just, personally, I just found it quite exhausting with some interactions I had with other vision impaired and blind people in the past, because it was very much, oh, the world is against me, woe is me. Uh, why can't this be better? Why can't my life be better? And ultimately, you've got to make that decision for yourself, and you've got to put that work in. And then when I met you, like, considering your story, which is still ongoing with your
Yes.
show, like, you just thought, no, I'm just going to carry on. Like, I can do things. I can. It's not just about living your life. You were like, oh no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and you built your life up around, around your limitations, because we all have them.
Yeah.
And you were like,
We do.
no, yeah. So I think that's why I sort of clicked with you, because it's like, here's a guy who gets it. It's like, okay, the site is gone, but I'm not just going to sit in my house and have people do things for me. It's like you said, you cook, you like playing games, like you've done the D&D stuff, you've done podcasts, like you do web like design and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, so much of the stuff you do, like, I know visually impaired and blind people who won't even do one of those things, and they make excuses, 10 excuses for why they can't even do one. And especially like when we've found out how much we had in common, like, at the same time, I was like, oh, this is a guy who actually gets it. Like, we are people, we are living our lives. Um, and that has put me off other visually impaired and blind people who are lovely people in the past, but they just exhausted me so quickly with the whole, I can't do anything. I'm like, well, you can. And then I just sort of lost contact with them. I'm just like, I don't need that negativity in my life, really.
Like accidentally on purpose, lost contact with them. I got
Yeah, well, you change your phone number, and yeah, you're selective of who you give the new one to, I suppose.
Well, see, and that's what people don't understand is, if there's people you don't want to talk to and there's bills that you need to pay and pass through, change your phone number. They have no way to contact you
Yeah.
then. But I mean, yeah, we both get it that, yeah, you have a quote unquote disability, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're disabled.
No,
Your life is what you make it. You know,
absolutely.
y- you can live or you can sit there and wallow in pity. And that's neither one of us. We're not going to wallow in pity. I mean, because to me, that's the majority of the blind or visually impaired community is wah, and it's no, life is what you make it. Do you want to be a whiny baby or do you want to step up and be a man if you're a man or a woman if you're a woman? The choice is yours.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And like that's something that you all have to take responsibility for your own life. And my thoughts have always been, you know, depending on what a lot of people have different views and perspectives on things, but my view is very much, you get one shot at this. So there's no point regretting anything, because you can't change what you've done in the past. You did it because of the circumstances you were. So looking back
Exactly.
and regretting it, like, there's no point, because you would have made the same decisions, because that's what you did based on your knowledge. And we only get one shot at this. So I'm just like, I don't want to be, you know, old and like on my deathbed and all that, and think, oh, all I did was make excuses and not actually do anything with my life. Like, if that makes some people happy, then go for it. But that's just not my style.
Yeah, I don't, and I think this is what I'm taking from what you're saying. On your quote unquote deathbed, you don't want to be thinking, I wish I had done insert whatever here.
Mm. Yeah.
If you're alive, do it,
Yeah.
you know, do it.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
but we were both talking, and I guess this is why I call you my brother from across the pond. you were having some technical issues. My screen reader decided it didn't want to talk this morning, so there was all my questions I had worked up to ask. So it's like the life of a blind person. But did
Yeah.
we stop? No. We're gonna go on with it,
Yeah.
and make it. We'll make it up as we go. Kind of like a recipe, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't have garlic. Let me put something else in here instead. And maybe we'll be better for it. I think we have listened to the Seesaw podcast, and yeah, I know you listening to like the one that Clint and I does, Sighted to Sightless, and the Unseen Critics. I like the flying by the seat of your pants. I like having a few notes, as like bullet points. If I'm struggling to think of something, boom, I can pop over there and like, okay, this is something I can talk about, and then go to it. But I think you and I have enough, chemistry that I really don't think we need the questions or the notes for us.
No, no. Well, we chat a fair amount, so yeah, and I like to think we're both seasoned podcasters at this point. So yeah, we'll fly by the seat of our pants, as you say.
Yeah, T and I would say regularly, I can't hardly say that word. It's like my tongue gets all tied and not regularly send what 4 to 5 minute messages. And whenever we're listening to them, at least on my end, it's like, hey, I thought this message was supposed to be like 5 minutes. It was only like 30 seconds, what it seems like. Because
Yeah.
we actually have stuff to talk about,
Yeah.
and we both get each other. Uh, but I do know the main question that I wanted to ask you, and it's one that we're going to ask everybody when it comes to terminology. I don't get into it, and I'm
Yeah.
not politically correct. I'm redneck. Do you personally prefer the term visually impaired or blind?
So I don't really mind if I'm being honest. I think it really depends on the person. I go by visually impaired most of the time. Uh, there is always a place for the word blind. I'll never say to people that I know that I am blind, because I do have some sight in one eye. One of
Yeah,
them doesn't work, but the other one does a little bit. Um, so I will go by visually impaired, but I will use the word blind if I don't have the time or patience to educate someone. I'd rather, especially someone out and about when I'm doing things around the city. If
right.
I need help, I will just say I'm blind, because that way I can, they know what that is, and they will just give me the help, and I can sort of like scale that back to my needs. I'd rather them offer everything and I can scale that back than say, oh, I'm visually impaired. And they'll go, oh, what does that mean? And then I've got to go, "Oh, okay, well, technically I can see this and this and this and this." And it makes it awkward for them. So I'm just like, no, treat me as a blind person. I'll make up the difference. That's fine. But I think it's very much a personal thing. I know some people don't like one term, some people don't like the other term, but
Yeah,
they both have their place. They both have their place. And I could see why people would get annoyed about people saying, "Oh, I'm blind," when they do have some sight. I know people who are very much in that camp of, "Don't say you're blind if you have sight. You don't know what that means." I was like, I get it, but sometimes it's just easier, like selective use of these words. And yeah, they are just words at the end of the day. Words have no power really, but if they help in a situation, I think that's why I use both of them. To be fair, like it's just selective use, just makes my life a little bit easier.
and see, I think that's a different perspective. And I should have said this in case you don't know. T is from Sydney, Australia. If you catch the accent, uh, for me, since I mean I can see light and dark usually. I prefer the term blind because I mean there's really no point in me saying I'm visually impaired. Oh, you can see. Well, not really. I can see light and dark sometimes, color occasionally, and it's like a whole thing. It's just I'm a quick and simple kind of guy. I'm blind,
Yeah.
but I think like you said, and I fully agree. it really depends on the person and the personal preference for one, and the amount of vision that they have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um. Now, over there in Australia, where you're from, uh, how how is life as a I'm gonna say blind, like I said, I'm quick and simple. How is life for you over there? Because I know that you work, and I'm not, asking you to tell us like where you work. We know you're the president. Yeah, that'd be an inside joke for T and myself, El
Yeah.
Presidente. But how is it over there? Because over here, it's really difficult for somebody who's blind to get a job because a lot of employers don't understand. They don't think that someone, say, in my position, can do certain things. When in actuality, if you give us a chance, we can. And it also depends on your location as well. But how is it over there for you and other people in your situation?
Yeah. So it really depends on the individual, and I think that's that will be the most similar thing to over in the States. Like, if an individual is very driven, then I think, I mean, it's still hard. Don't get me wrong, but you can still make a lot of headway with things. I suppose over here, the biggest difference, which I have found from conversations with yourself, other um, Americans, Canadians, it's very much transport is a big issue because if you don't drive in the US and Canada, then you're really limited to where you can be without needing a lot of help. Like maybe in some of the big metropolitan cities, but they come with their own issues because
Yes.
they got good public transport. But not that's not for everyone. Like, I wouldn't want to live in New York. Like, I live in a city now, a small city, but I couldn't live in like New York or something like that. So I think where I am, public transport is a lot better. What we have a really well funded transport system, buses, trams, that sort of thing. So, and our train network is really big. So getting around is a lot easier over here. And I think that does help. As far as sort of like the employment side of things, it's still tough over here. Don't get me wrong. 90%, I can't remember the exact figure, but it's around 90% of visually impaired and blind people do not work. And that's a lot. That's so many. And even then, when you go
Yeah.
to the 10% that do, it's always shocking to see what sort of jobs they're doing. Like, it's very rare to be in a management position or running a company or a very senior post. So it's usually sort of like entry level stuff. And it's still difficult. Employers don't, there are laws in place to say they can't discriminate. But unfortunately, the law is written in such a way that unless they outright say, I'm not hiring you because you're disabled, they can just lie and make anything up and say, you have too much experience. You're too skilled for this job.
We
Um,
found somebody better qualified.
exactly. So
Yeah.
as long as they don't explicitly say, you are disabled, we don't want you, the law is useless. It is absolutely useless. And that's a big problem. I think culturally, the big issue for the vision impaired and blind community is, unfortunately, there's a very much you can't do thing attitude. And that stops a lot of people striving for those opportunities. That's not everyone. That's not everyone. There are people who work really hard, um, and they really push forwards. But I think you've got to be adaptable. And I'm doing something now that I never thought I would do. Like, I'm not using my degree. I went to university. I'm not using that at all. My job out of university, I did a couple of jobs, but they were all wildly different. And it gets to a point where you just have to adapt to things and be like, okay, I'll reskill, I'll get some other experience, and then I'll give this a go. And that's why I've got such a strange CV, what you guys call it, a resume, but it's very strange and it sort of darts all over the place from all sorts of sectors because I'm just like, well, I'll go to where the work is. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, some people are like, no, I want to do job X. And it's like, well, if there's no jobs there at the moment,
Oh,
then you're not going to get that job. Maybe do something else until that opens up. And I think that's a problem that it's not just disabled people. A lot of people who are unemployed have that attitude, especially over here. They're like, oh, if I can't have my dream job, I won't work. And I'm like, well, that's a rubbish attitude to have, to be honest.
it's a really dumb attitude to have because you still got bills you got to pay.
Yeah, I suppose that it's very easy to live off of the taxpayer here. That's the problem, especially if you're disabled. If
Right.
if I wanted to quit my job, I would be better off on government, like basically on the government tip, because they would essentially pay my rent, they'd pay my council tax, and then you would get money on top of that as well for living. It's they're overly generous with it, and that's why there's no real incentive. Because if you're on minimum wage, which isn't, it's not rubbish, it's okay. But if you're on a full-time contract on minimum wage in the UK as a disabled person, you're making less than what you would do if you weren't working at all. So what's the incentive there? There absolutely is none financially, and that's why the rate is also so high. I just don't want to be in that situation. I come from a family of workers. We work. That's what we do. So I didn't want to be that statistic. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'll sort something out.
You want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And do I wish I was further along? Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. But I'm still
I didn't
happy.
realize you could get higher than president. I was
Supreme leader.
okay. That's your next goal then. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I think Tash and Tasha would have something to say about that. Cause I
Oh,
think she's the supreme leader, ain't she?
yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong there, to be honest. I wouldn't have dared put anything on the record going against my wife.
Yeah, because you know me, I'll throw people under the bus if it benefits me, or even if it don't benefit me. Oh no, she is a sweetheart. But you know, and speaking of Tasha Tasha, that's another inside joke because I never can remember which one it is and how to pronounce it. But what's it like being married? You know, you being visually impaired and Tasha being, as far as I'm aware, fully sighted. I mean, granted, I don't
Yeah.
see what she sees in you, but that is.
It must be my charming wit. I don't know anything else.
Uh, that's it. That's all I got. I got no dukes. You know.
Yeah. No, I suppose we have a really strange relationship, and I'll keep it short because I could go for an hour on the whole story. We've been together a very long time.
Yeah.
2008 is when we first met and started dating. So 17 years, and we would have been married 9 years this year. But to begin with, I had more sight than I have now, and I basically hid it. I hid my disability for a while, or at least I dumbed it down quite a lot.
Yeah.
I was always transparent and honest and said, look, I do have a visual impairment, just so you're aware. I am not, I'm not going to be able to do certain things, read certain things. Don't expect me to be able to pick you up in a car or anything like that. Like, that's something that will not happen in my lifetime.
Right.
But I did dumb it down quite a bit. And I suppose as time went on, especially with my sight getting worse, having a degenerative condition. And before anyone guesses in the comments, it's not retinitis pigmentosa. It's not RP. I don't have that. I get very annoyed when people say I have RP. I have a retinal disease. It is not RP. It is very unique. There's only a handful of people in the world with it. It's like a mutation of a gene called CRB1. So it's not RP. So it does get worse with time, and I suppose with that, I I started doing things certain ways, and she picked up on that more. And I don't think we ever once have had a chat of I need help with this because of my vision. I think because we've been together so long, and my sight loss has been so gradual, it just naturally happened, like adaptations and things that she does to make my life easier. But I've always been very, my mindset has always been, I'm not going to let my disability affect me, and it will.
Right.
It's like it affects us all, and you can't get away from that. But there will be things that I won't allow it to affect. Like I will cook 95% of the meals in the house for both of us.
And we won't talk about why.
No, 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 I won't talk about that. But little things like that, like I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do the laundry. I work from home, so I can easily just duck out of the office here and there and just be like, oh, I can just get that done. I can get that done. And there's things
Yeah.
I can't do, but I don't want it to be, oh, my poor blind husband, I need to look after him because she works hard in her line of work, in her career. I work hard in mine. And we're just a regular couple. It's just sometimes she, she knows that there's certain things I can't do. And we don't even sort of acknowledge it anymore. It's just very much, no, we just know that that's something that I can't really do. Like in a dark room, I'm useless. I'm just like, I don't even have to say I can't see in here. She's like, no, no, that's fine.
Right. And from what I know of her, if you was to go and have that pity party, she might give you, excuse me, 5 or so minutes,
Mm.
but then she would snatch you by the ears because you don't have hair to snatch up by,
Yeah,
and would tell you to, get off your butt and get over it. And that's not her being mean. That's her loving you and not wanting you to wallow in your self pity.
yeah, exactly. And she knows me. She knows that if I do have a funny 5 minutes, she knows that it's not me. So snapping me out of that, like, is usually like, you're not this person. Like, you're having a bad day. We all have them, but get on with it. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like, you can have a rant. You can feel a little bit sad here and there. That's fine. But like, just remember that isn't you in the big picture.
Right. I'm gonna have to mute myself in a minute, and I hope I don't hit the hang up button. It's springtime and pollen time here in Georgia, but that's her knowing your personality, knowing how you are and how you want to be. It's her showing that she cares,
Yeah,
and you and everybody, sighted, unsighted, people in wheelchairs, amputees, whatever, everybody has dark times. They have moments of depression, but you don't have to let them control who and what you are.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people let it control them. And as anybody listening to this knows, and T, I think that's stupid.
yeah,
Don't let it control you. You, you are you. What kind of you do you want to be? I was trying to go for 5 views in there, but I couldn't think of another way to put put it in there. Um, but you mentioned something, and like you said, you and I have talked at length about individuals like this, and I have never been to one of the institutions. I mean, several people have said I should go to the mental institutions, but they don't accept me because they say there's no cure. Um, but the people out there, and I'm doing a generalized term here, that have people wash their clothes. Now,
yeah,
given certain situations, I understand why. Like if they have one leg and one arm, I get that.
yeah,
It would be a lot more and more dangerous for them to try to do it, especially to carry the dried clothes.
yeah,
But the people who have two perfectly good arms, two perfectly good legs, the only thing wrong with them is they can't see, whining about, well, somebody didn't wash my clothes right. Well, if you got a problem with them how they wash your clothes, how about you get up off your lazy butt and wash them yourself? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that difficult. Modify your washing machine, and hey, and guess what? All you got to do there is the little dot where it washes at, so you know there. And in case it don't spin out completely, put a dot there where the spin out cycle is.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not that difficult.
No. No. You're right. And I think, yeah, this is very much a reference to something I saw in one of these like online groups, and we had a laugh about it. And it was someone who was going to a party, and it was US based because we don't really have, like, we have colleges and stuff, but to my knowledge, we don't have many sort of live in like residential sort of housing for vision impaired and blind people, and that's a lot more common in the States.
Yeah.
But this person was complaining on Facebook that they were going out to a party, and the person who would pick up their dirty laundry, wash it, dry it, fold it, and put it back in their room hadn't done it quick enough before they left, so they didn't have the particular outfit they wanted. And I read it, I thought, what world do you live in? Like,
I, th- I
don't
think
you?
you immediately messaged me about like, Bub, I think you get kicked out of this group. Yep, they sure would. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little weird. I don't mind somebody like washing my shirts and pants. That wouldn't bother me. I mean, I do it
mm,
myself. I don't want somebody touching my drawers. I mean,
yeah,
that's uh, that's a little personal there to me.
yeah,
Yeah, and other than everything else, it's lazy. But and I don't know if he immediately messaged me or not, but he was like, "Bubba, I just came across this post in this Facebook group, and he told me the story, and like, yep, I definitely get kicked out of there real quick, like, because I
yeah.
mean, T knows me. I'll comment him. I'll get put in Facebook prison. Might even get put on Facebook death row. Not that I'd threaten anybody's life, but it's like, no, all
Yeah,
you have is lazy syndrome. That's
yeah,
that's a problem.
yeah. It is, and that's why I've always been fascinated by the idea of these sort of like housing like situations that visually impaired and blind people live in, and it's always intrigued me because I'm like, well, why? I don't really understand them, and I want to learn more about them. To be fair, the closest thing we have in the UK is sort of like colleges specifically for the visually impaired and blind, and I went to one for a year, and it was the worst experience of my life. I hated it. Um, but I felt that I needed to get to know a community that I was in.
Right.
And after that, it put me off so like to get involved in that community. And we didn't act, well, I say we because it was the podcast, but I didn't want to get involved in the community after that until we started doing the show back in 2020. Like, I was just like, I don't want anything to do with this. And no fault of any individual person. I was just like, I just don't like what passes for acceptable with a lot of these people. I'm like, this isn't acceptable, like, for
So
whatever reason.
So you started COVID so that you could start the Seesaw podcast. We have come to the origin.
Oh, the truth finally comes out.
But and I'm not detracting from these schools because they do a lot of good. They teach people how to cook.
Yeah,
You know, thankfully, Mama taught me how to cook. I just needed to modify it to fit my level,
yeah.
because I couldn't see anymore. And I've come up with some interesting dishes. Like I accidentally put chocolate chips in scrambled eggs one time. I mean, hey, it wasn't bad. I would never purposely eat it again, but hey, it wasn't bad. And I accidentally put garlic in them one time, and I usually do that every time now. I
Yeah.
mean, but they do a lot of good. They teach you how to do things. But what T and I are talking about is these places, that, hey, would you like me to wash your clothes? No,
Mm.
there's my dirty drawers. I don't want you touching them. I
Yeah.
mean, and to me, it's an inhibitor. You know,
Oh yeah,
it helps them to be more and more like I said, I'm honest, lazy, and sorry,
yeah.
and that doesn't benefit anybody. I mean, at all,
No,
in my opinion. Yeah,
you're right, and I think especially I I agree. Like these places, they teach some really valuable skills. I already had a lot of the skills before I went to the college for the year. But I could see other people learning a lot of amazing things and getting independence. And I rate that really highly. I think that's such a valuable service that they do in the education system here. The problem that I had, and this also goes with the housing scenario in the States, there were people at that college when I was there who were in their fourth year. And I thought, why have you been here 4 years? I don't understand it. Like 1 year is enough. Do 1 year, get your mobility, get your living skills, get all of this stuff sorted and move on. Why are you here for 4 years? And it's just like because even when they called it getting signed off. When you got
yeah,
signed off on cooking, well, there was no incentive to cook because there was a canteen and you got all of your meals paid for you. So they would just go to the canteen anyway and have it all cooked, like all cooked meals for them anyway. But there would still be people available to do their laundry for them, even when they were signed off of being able to do that. So even though they had the skills, there was never a cutoff. Or when I was there, at least, maybe it's changed now. But there
probably
was
gotten
no,
worse.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And
Yeah,
it's one of those things that once you've qualified or quote unquote qualified, you should be completely cut off from that. It's like, oh, you can cook now. Okay. You can get a sandwich in the canteen at lunch if you want, but you can't come here for breakfast. You can't come here for your dinner later in the day because we've given you the skills. Like we'll give you money for your groceries because that comes as a part of the tuition.
yeah,
We'll pay for your groceries, but go on. You've got kitchens in the dormitories. Go and make something. They never did that. So there was never an incentive for anyone to be like, oh, I'm going to move on. I'm going to do this and that and this because they never encouraged it. They were just babysitting you. And there were people there 4 years still doing that. And I was just like, yeah, I couldn't deal with it. I moved out of the dorms within 6 weeks. I moved out into a house with another
let's see.
person.
I would be there like I'd be the one always in the kitchen. They'd have to ask me to leave. You know, no man, I'm trying to make some money. I'm charging Phil over there $35 to cook his meal. You know,
Yeah,
but
I should have done that. I should have.
yeah, that's that's what we can do. We'll sneak in secretly
Yeah,
and
yeah,
start a cooking, culinary empire. Oh,
yeah,
but we'll get a little lighthearted here with this because, like T and I said, we both love cooking.
mm.
T, we've talked about this. There's some people out there that don't even know how to make a sandwich.
Yeah. It was kind of a running joke in our podcast about one guy who came to college and he couldn't even make a cheese sandwich, and it wasn't his fault. He was always looked after for his entire life, not expected to do anything. But I'm just like, you can't butter some bread and put a slice of cheese on it. I'm like, that that's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. I'd been making meals for myself for like 5 years up to that point, and this guy can't make a sandwich. And I felt bad for him, but also angry because
Yeah,
I was like, how is this even possible?
I'm flabbergasted because I mean that was one of the first things that I learned to do after I lost my sight. And got to where I could, move around easier and wasn't worried about falling and messing up like the trach and stuff that I still had. you know, but it's like, okay, take a spoon, and nobody had to teach me. I had to
Yeah.
figure it out myself because there's not that, because I live in a small town. It's like, let's see, whenever I could see, I'd take a knife, and spread mayonnaise. I'm not going to do that now because mayonnaise or whatever tends to slide off the knife. Let me get a spoon, plop it on there, spread it with a spoon, make sure, with my finger. And this, I won't do this for other people, but my own sandwich, spread
Yeah.
to the edge with my finger, put whatever I want on there, and go about eating it.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
No. No.
Just say hashtag just saying, as the cool kids say, or hashtag sorry not sorry.
Yeah. That's it.
I mean, there's oh wait, I like to use this word. I'm not really sure what it means, but I digress. Yes. Um,
No, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. Especially if it's your own food. I'm just like,
right.
just get on with it. Like, even like frying an egg. Like, I bet a guy who couldn't even fry an egg. And he's like, oh, I burned myself. How do I know what I'm doing? I'm just like, dude, come on. Like, if you smell it burning, then you burnt it. But it takes practice, and it's not that hard. Like, come on. He's like,
You don't
oh,
flip it with your fingers.
exactly. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, he's like, oh, what if I lose it in the pan? It's like, use a small pan. How many eggs are you doing at once? Get a pan that's the size of an egg. You'll never lose it. And he's like, oh, okay then. So yeah, come on, man. Come on.
and and T knows I'll make fun of anybody because I'll make fun of myself. So I think everybody's fair game. But T, both of us do a fair bit of traveling. Um, and I keep waiting on the timer to go off, but usually whenever we talk, it doesn't seem like we're talking long. So I ain't sure if it's like 5 minutes or tell us you recently got back from a very interesting trip, and I still want my mummy hand. But
Yeah.
tell us about your trip and how it is to experience, something like that as a blind or visually impaired person.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I've done a fair amount of traveling. Not as much as Cleves, who I'm sure you'll get at some point. Yeah, one of the other hosts of the show. He's done so
Someone I
much.
can afford him.
Yeah, yeah. He's a expensive man. That's how he pays for all his holidays. Um, but yeah, I've recently been to Egypt for a week and just me and my missus. It was around the time of my birthday. Not that that was really relevant. I'm to that age, and I'm sure you've got the same sort of mindset now, but it's like when you get to a certain point, it's just like, oh, my birthday is in 2 days. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. It's
It's
like
just like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, 3 weeks to my birthday, 3 weeks, 2 days, 11 hours. And now I'm just like, oh, okay. It's like even when we went away to Egypt, like I had people from the office saying, oh, you're going away for your birthday. I was like, birthday? I'm just going on holiday. I was like, oh, no, it is my birthday when I'm out there, technically. So, yeah, Egypt, wasn't what I would say visually impaired slash blind friendly. Um, I have heard that other totally blind people have gone there and had a really good time, but I don't know what they did, what their idea of a holiday experience is. Me and my wife, we like to go out and do things, especially on our trip. And you get this in a lot of places. I've been to other places which have like problems with scammers and begging and stuff like that in the streets, and it's horrible that that happens. I'm not going to go into why that happened. It's not my place, and that'd make a really long show. But it wasn't exactly the most friendly sort of place, and it was the sort of thing that I imagined, especially going to some of these busier areas, that if I wasn't with my wife, I was very much a target of, probably not violence, but maybe being taken advantage of, mugging.
yeah.
You never know. And and that's, I'm a big guy. Like I'm around 6 foot, quite heavy set. I'm not a small guy, but even then I was feeling a bit vulnerable, even with my wife. Like, got my long cane now, and I'm just like, I don't really like this environment. And that never really went away. It never really went away, unfortunately. And it's a shame because it is a beautiful country with like a really nice culture. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely worth people going there, but I think you really have to manage your expectations of the fact that people will try and rip you off. People will see you as the rich white people, and I'm not rich. We saved hard and we paid for it, but through hard work. We're not rich, but they don't see that. They see you're rich white people. You have more money than us, so we're going to try and get your money. And it's like that's not the case. Maybe there's some other tourists there who are in that situation, but that weren't us. That was not us. And then you just get very resentful of like, look, you guys
That,
probably make more than me. Like,
that's y'all's identical couple twins, No, it's the other T and Tasha that have all the money.
oh yeah, yeah, they're loaded. They are.
Can't trust them. No, no, no.
No,
I was like, but
no, it was good fun. It was good fun. I can look back on it now and be like, oh, well, we did have some good memories there. At the time, I hated it. Like, I really didn't have a good time.
yeah,
But it it was still an experience. And I've been to other places, and maybe at a future point we'll chat through those. Like Mexico was amazing, Cuba was amazing.
oh, Mexico's awesome.
Yeah, loved Mexico. It's I think it's our number one holiday that we've been on, and we will go back at some point. I went to Vegas last year as well, as a guys group, like the Midlife Crisis Brigade.
Yeah.
And we went to Vegas, and there was me and Cleve, so two visually impaired people in Vegas with another load of guys, and we were all drinking a lot. And yeah, your guides are only as good as their sobriety, shall we say?
I have been there. Oh my gosh, have I been there?
Yeah.
Uh,
So maybe I'll tell some stories about that in a future installment because there were some shenanigans that went down in Vegas.
that'll be behind the Patreon wall.
Oh yeah,
You have to pay for that one.
yeah.
We both had to pay for our experiences.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. All I say is strip club when you're blind is very interesting.
never been to one.
You know, it was a fun experience, but that is very much a Patreon story, and it's a bit that's not a family friendly one. Nothing nefarious happened, but that's not for the kids to hear.
Right.
What's a strip club? Ask your dad.
Uh, Daddy wasn't. Go ask your mom. Yes.
Ping
You
pong basketball.
finally go to your grandpa. Well, son, that's where I met your grandma, and your daddy met
Ah,
your mama.
the origins.
Yeah. Um, but I want to thank you too. We're gonna have you on here like all the time, and but yeah, we'll definitely get into some more stories, and thank you for joining us and telling us your story. Because I just got a feeling that, like we always do, we talked a lot longer than what I realized. And we just seem to roll like that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'll check it. They can hear it. Yeah, about right on time. I am good.
Nailed
Uh,
it.
yeah. But thank you again. Really enjoyed it getting your side eye point of view from across the pond in Australia.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, man.
You're right down the road from London and everything, being in Australia, so it's
Yeah.
all good.
I'm wondering how many people would comment thinking I'm genuinely from Australia because I got mistaken for an Australian when I was in Vegas a lot. And
Really?
yeah, a lot. And they're like, oh, you're from Australia. It's like, I have a very London accent. Like, I'm nowhere, it doesn't sound anything like Australian. Like, I can do an Australian accent, but I was like, I wasn't even doing that. I was like, I could not be more Australian. And we'll see in the
Uh,
comments. We'll see who thinks I'm Australian.
this will be hilarious. But again, check T out on his podcast. Even though it's on hiatus, you can download episodes and listen to them. Seesaw Podcast. They can find it on, what is it called now? X? Or is it Y by now? Whatever.
Yeah.
Used to Twitter used to be.
Yeah. Well,
Check
yeah,
them out. Yeah, you own everything. I won't list them all because I don't know them all. I just know they're out there. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, share, rate, review, subscribe, send money, send food, send snacks. I got to try to get all them in, T.
Yeah.
And if we get 100 YouTube subscribers, I will eat the one chip challenge. So we're trying to get our YouTube subscribers up. And right now I have a share going that if I can get a post up to 20 shares, I will let Clint's wife Shannon pie me in the face with a pie. I just hope it's not like a hard baked pie. I'm wanting something like maybe a creamy peanut butter pie. Something that at least tastes good. But
And
don't.
it's not a Scotch pie. You didn't want to be hit in the face with one of those.
Oh, what's the Scotch pie?
A Scotch pie, it's around the same size and density of a hockey puck, and it's filled with mincemeat and very hard pastry. They weigh a lot. They are dense as anything. You get hit in the face with that, mate, you are unconscious. But that would not be fun to be hit in the face with.
So you just gave Shannon probably the kind of pie she's gonna use. That or a frozen one. I ain't sure which one she's gonna use. But thank y'all again for listening, and we'll talk at you next week. You want to tell them bye, T? How do you do bye in Australia?
I have no idea. I was just thinking cheerio, but that's very.
It's like goodbye, mate. Yeah.
See you later, mate.
See y'all.